Oh hi. Regensburg, the city in Germany, in the state of Bavaria. It is located on confluence of Danube and Regen, in the most northern bend of Danube. To the east of the city the Bavarian wood begins. Capital of the area, top faults and residence of the Bishop of the Roman Catholic Church. The population makes 157,234 people. 2014. It is the fourth most populated city of Bavaria, after Munich, Nuremberg and Augsburg. Regensburg, one of the few, along with Heidelberg and Bamberg, the large historic towns of Germany which avoided destruction during World War II. The old city is recognized as a monument of the World Heritage of UNESCO. Regensburg, one of the oldest cities in Germany which had a set of names within centuries. The oldest of them, the Celtic names, Ratisbona. Also, Ratisbona or Ratisbona. Settlements near modern Regensburg. Along with the names which are already mentioned above, also Quadrata, Germanisheim, Hyatospolis, Imbripolis, Reginopolis and Tiberina were used. The bend of Danube at Regensburg is populated already since the Stone Age. At the beginning of 2006 in 100 m to the east from walls of later Roman camp, the Celtic graves which objects were dated 400 BB were found. The Roman history of Regensburg begins with creation of the fortress of Castra Regina approximately in the 79th year AD, located in the modern region of Kampfmühl. It was the observation post behind mouths of the M and Regen, surrounded with a ditch and a paling, and later in a stone wall. In him took place are about 500 men making a strong horse cohort, or about 1,000 men making a strong double cohort of infantrymen. The settlement in the western part of 2 days old city. An observation tower which ruins were found near the mouth of the M. And the oldest Roman brewery to the north from the Alps. Today the Roman pavilion on Kornweg. 3 at the same time. Fortress and civil settlements were destroyed during invasion in the second half of the 160th years. After pushing off according to the order of the Emperor Marcus Aurelius the Castra Regina camp. German of Castra Regina, the camp at the Regen River was built. In the camp Legion 3 Italica approximately with 600 soldiers was located. It was the main military strong point of the province of Raetia, which, capital, was located in Augsburg. The camp was surrounded with a wall about 10 m high, had 4 gates and numerous towers, and was located in the territory of the modern Old City to the east from Oberen and Terbachgasse, and to the west from Schwanenplatz. Great resettlement of the people had enhanced about 400 military value of fortress, which became from now on the civil settlement surrounded with walls. Approximately from 500 to 788 Regensburg was the capital of the Bavarian Dukes Adolfingau. In 788 the Duke Tassilo III, last from this sort, was subdued by Charles the Great. In the 9th century Regensburg was one of the most important cities of East Frankish Empire Carlovingians. Anna Bavarskaya. Mind. 876.
The spouse of the Vostokno-Franksky King Louis Chunametsky and also two last Vostokno-Franksky masters from a dynasty of Carlovingians, Emperors Arnulf Karentysky and his son Louis Fordisha. Mind 911 were buried in the Benedictine Abbey of St. Emmeram, which was located in the southern part of Regensburg. Since the beginning of the 19th century, the residence of princes of Tournai, Texas. Regensburg is one of the oldest episcopacies of Germany. About 680-690 years Street. Erhard of Regensburg arrived with an episcopal mission to the yard of the Bavarian dukes Adolfingau in Regensburg. Here he acted as the preacher of Christian belief in Bavaria at court of the Duke Theodan II. The real visit of episcopacy Regensburg took place in 739 by efforts of St. Boniface, who put on episcopal department of the Saint Gaubald, who became the first official bishop in again formed diocese of Regensburg. In 845, 14 Czech princes were christened in Regensburg that became a starting point in Christianization of Czechs. Among prominent bishops of Regensburg and missionaries of the early Middle Ages, it is necessary to mention Saint Wolfgang. From the moment of establishment, the residence of the bishop with the Cathedral Street, Wyatt, and a baptistry Street, Johannes Church, is located in a northeast corner of Castra Regina. In the 8th century, in this corner the church over St. Erhard's grave, and then an abbey of Niedermunster appears. The stone building of the Cathedral of St. It was built at Carlovingians. In the 11th century it was expanded on the west and received a cross aisle about 15 meters high, 2 towers and an atrium. This building strongly was damaged in the fires of the 12th century, and in the middle of the 13th century was demolished at construction of new cathedral in style of a high Gothic style, only 1 tower. Esselstern. On north side of cathedral remained. She was used at construction of new cathedral for raising of construction materials. Also the remains of Romance constructions remain near Street. Georgienplatz. Ancient fragments of a hardy crypta and a Romance chapel of Street. Georgundafra. In the 12th century, Regensburg, one of the richest cities of Germany, having commercial relations with Paris, Venice and Kiev. An important symbol of welfare of the time of the city, construction of stone bridge. Since 1135 to 1146, which was miracle of an engineering thought of the time and became a sample for many other bridges, for example, of Udifi Bridge. The predecessor Karlav of the bridge. In Prague. This bridge was used in May 1147 by Conrad III and in May 1189 Frederick I Barbarossa at speeding up of Danube during the Second and Third Crusades. In 1207 the King Philip Schwabski gave to Regensburg the status of the imperial city, and on November 10, 1245 residents of Regensburg reached that the Emperor Frederick II confirmed the right of self-government of the city with privilege to have the burgomaster and council. It brought together with profitable international trade and an extract of the Bavarian dukes into Landshut in 1255 to strengthening of municipality. The conflict of municipality of Regensburg with the bishop and the nearby Duchy of Bavaria continuing centuries began with it. Centuries later, as a result of economic decline, the pro-Bavarian party in 1485-1486 carried out accession of the city to the Duchy of Bavaria Munich.
However, independence in the status of the imperial city was restored in 1492.
At the same time, Regensburg lost the status of the free city and became the ordinary imperial city.
Internal disorders proceeded, and the Emperor Maximilian I interfered in 1500, having imposed to Regensburg the new city constitution, a so-called Order of Board, which was modified in 1514 and remained formally in force till 1803. About 1300, the city is surrounded with a new wall with 5 gates and numerous towers. At the same time, the walls of monasteries which are in the neighborhood of the city become a part of fortification constructions, and monasteries join in city boundaries. Fragments of this wall remain so far, and now call the area in a wall the Old City. Also, an essential historical building of the Old City of the 13th, 16th centuries remained. Great families of city patricians competed in the opportunities of creation of the highest tower of the city. Therefore, in 1260 the Gold Tower, well distinguishable on all panoramas of Regensburg, on Wallenstray, was constructed. After the death of the Emperor Maximilian I on January 12, 1519, the city of Regensburg used the arisen vacuum of the power, and on February 21 decided to expel Jews from the city within 2 weeks. The ghetto was burned together with a synagogue and school, pledges confiscated, valuable parchments used as binding material for affairs and books. The cemetery was razed, more than 400 tombstones were broken, and some are taken by residents of Regensburg from approval of council and immured in walls of houses as trophies.
Today some of these, Judenstein, are still distinguishable.
The most known of them gave the name to Am Judenstein Square in the west of the Old City. The most part of Jews went to Poland and the southern Tyrol. On the place of a ghetto, beautiful Maria's Church on Neuferplatz was built.
The following mention of the Jewish community in Regensburg belongs only to 1669, when here Rabbi Isaac Alexander, the first Jew publishing philosophical compositions in German, worked.
For meetings and church services then the house on Stray hinter der Grebe was used.
In 1542 Regensburg accepted Protestant transformation, and his municipality remained completely Lutheran before association of the city to the Principality Regensburg at Karl von Dahlberg in 1803.
The minority of the population remained Roman Catholic, and Catholics were excluded from the civil rights. Bürgerrecht. The city of Regensburg shouldn't be confused with the diocese Regensburg. Though the imperial city accepted transformation, it remained a place of the Roman Catholic bishop and several abbeys. Rob from the last street. Two Emmers, Niedermünster and Obermünster, had the status of imperial abbeys of the Sacred Roman Empire. It means that Regensburg was presented on the Reichstag by 5 independent subjects. In government of the Emperor Rudolf II there is a tradition to carry out the Reichstag in Regensburg, and since 1663 the city becomes the venue of the constant Reichstag of the Sacred Roman Empire. German of immer Warender Reichstag, at which there were not only princes of the Sacred Roman Empire, but also envoys from the whole Europe. At the same time the emperor was presented in most cases to Imperial Principalkommissar. In 1748 the Imperial Postmaster, the Prince Alexander Ferdinand von Ternitaxis, who transferred for this reason the residence of the family from Frankfurt to Regensburg, was appointed to this position. His family became one of the most prominent families of Regensburg of the 19th century. The architectural certificate of time of the constant Reichstag are numerous diplomatic missions on streets of Regensburg. However, the economic advantage of it for the city was insignificant, as envoys weren't assessed with duty and weren't subject to taxation.
In 1797, according to the Campo-Formeschi World, France I received Porensky lands of the Sacred Roman Empire, and the emperor was obliged to offset to imperial monarchs loss of possession of granting new territories to them. As a result of it, as compensation, the Archbishop of Mainz Karl von Dalberg in 1803 acquired the right to create and head the Principality Regensburg.
At the same time, the imperial city of Regensburg and possession of the Bishop of Regensburg lost the independence. Catholics and Lutherans of Regensburg were balanced in the rights. The abbeys located in the territory of Regensburg were Scuolerie and temples located in their territory became parish or in general were reorientated. In particular, St. Emmeram's Abbey in 1809 carries over family of princes of Ternite axis, and it will be converted in the existing nowadays family lock. Actually, the Principality Regensburg didn't exist also 5 years. His establishment till February 1, 1805 was interfered by the Bavarian objections. In 1809 Regensburg appeared in the center of battles of Napoleonic Wars, and on May 22, 1810 under pressure of Napoleon Dalberg had to cede Regensburg to the Kingdom Bavaria. At the same time, Dalberg kept a position of the Archbishop of Regensburg to the death in 1817 and received the Great Duchy Frankfurt, which is specially created for him as compensation. Nestering Bavaria meant loss of political value and special position of the city within Old Bavaria. Transformation of the imperial city of Regensburg into the Bavarian province coincided with disintegration of the Sacred Roman Empire, issued to in Regensburg. On August 1, 1806, at the last meeting of the Reichstag of the State of the Rhine Union declared the secession of the Sacred Roman Empire of the German nation. In Bavaria, Regensburg became the capital of the area Regensburg. Since 1838, the area Regensburg and the Top Pfalz, and since 1953, the administrative district the Top Pfalz. The status of Regensburg gradually increases. In 1859, railway communication between Regensburg, Nuremberg and Munich was organized. In 1962 in Regensburg the university is open. The King Ludwig I appreciated Regensburg as a sacral monument of the German history, allocated funds for reconstruction of cathedral in Gothic style. Near Regensburg 2 national monuments of the German patriotism and greatness were constructed. The first of them, Valhalla, Hall of Fame. Similarity of Parthenon established as the German temple on the hill towering over Danube. The second, the Hall of Release in Kalkheim, devoted to heroes of liberating war of 1813. In the middle of the 19th century in parks of Regensburg established medieval statues. A column of Predicto of the beginning of the 14th century on St. Petersweg, near a monument to Kepler, which figures represent revival and the Last Judgment, and a road column of 1459 in front of St. Jacob's Gate, on which 4 apostles and a scene of a crucifixion are represented. On December 31, 2015, the population of the interdistrict city community makes Regensburg 145,465 people. Sites. In the old city, more than 1,500 buildings and constructions protected by the state.
The ancient city landscape avoided significant damages during World War II.
The main attractions of the city are mostly in his old part, among which
the Regensburg Cathedral, an example of the real German Gothic style and also the main Gothic construction in all Bavaria.
Construction was begun in 1275 and finished in 1634, except for towers which were finished in 1869. The interior contains numerous interesting monuments, including one of Peter Fischer Sr. Masterpieces. The monastery at cathedral is adjoined by two chapels which are more senior than the cathedral. One of them is known as Old Cathedral. It was based presumably in the 8th century. The official choir of cathedral executes church music and is known as the Regensburg Nightingales. Regensburger Domspatzen. The Stone Bridge. Constructed 1135-1146, is a masterpiece of medieval bridging.
Participants of the Second and Third Crusade used them upon transition through Danube on the way to the Holy Land.
Castra Regina, remains of the Roman fortification strengthenings, including Porta Pretoria. Street. Jacob's Church, also known as the Scottish Church. The Romance Basilica of the 12th century, which received the name from the monastery of the Irish Benedictines, Scotti, to which she belonged before laicization. The main doorway is covered with very unusual carved figures. The most ancient Irish manuscripts, and in particular, the texts written in 1080 by the Irish Benedictine monk of Marianus, the founder of community in Regensburg, containing the earliest written down Gaelic words, were found in monastic library. The church is about Jakobski Gate, which served as an entrance to the medieval town. Gate received the name on behalf of church. The old parish church of Street Ulrich is constructed in the 13th century. In it there is a valuable antiquarian collection and also the Episcopal Museum of Church Art. Can be an example of basilicas in Romance-style Obermünster Church. Constructed in 1010 in Church of Abbey Street. Amarama Street. Amaram. Constructed in the 13th century, remarkable as one of the few German churches with the bell tower separated from her. Beautiful monasteries of Abbey, one of the oldest in Germany, perfectly remain about one today. In 1809 monastic constructions were redone in palace rooms for princes of a sort of Turnitaxis, hereditary postmasters of the Sacred Roman Empire. The Eagle Drugstore is located near the Regensburg Cathedral. It was founded in 1610, it is one of the oldest drugstores of the city. Historical interiors of the room which can be examined remained. Families of rich patricians competed among themselves in construction of the highest towers in the city. In 1260 the Gold Tower was built to Wallenstray. Old Town Hall.
Which part of buildings goes back to the 14th century, in which there took place meetings of the Imperial Reichstag in 1663-1806, and it was declared disintegration of the Sacred Roman Empire.
Also the inn at the Gold Cross is of historical interest, where Charles V got acquainted with Barbara Blomberg, John Wanastariski's mother. I was born in 1547. The neo-Gothic country house of the King of Bavaria on the bank of Danube, constructed in 1854-1856 at the request of the Bavarian King Maximilian II on the project of the Munich architect Ludwig Fultz. As the summer residence. The Dominican Church Street. Blasius. In the Old City was built in the middle of the 13th century as Church of Dominicans.
After Reformation, the church was at one time used for Protestant church services and was again consecrated as Catholic in 1628.
During her construction in Regensburg, Dominican Albert Veliky worked. The church is decorated with Gothic frescoes.
In the side altar is available cancer with Albert Veliky's bust of the end of the 17th century, transferred here from the abolished medieval monastery.
Jean the Baptist Church. On this place, according to the legend, in 845 14 Bohemian princes were baptized. The Church of the Intercession of the Most Holy Mother of God, Russian Orthodox Church, is in the city park. It is open after the end of war in 1946.
In the neighborhood of Regensburg there are two impressive classical constructions erected by Ludwig I. Bawarski as national monuments to the German patriotism and greatness.
The most majestic of them two, Valhalla, the magnificent reproduction of Parthenon erected as the Teutonic Temple of Glory on the hill, rising from coast of Danube in the commune Donaustadt, in 10 km to the east from the city. The internal furniture consisting of multicolored marble, gilding and sculptures is also decorated with busts more than 100 great Germans. The second of constructions of the King Ludwig, the Hall of Release in the town of Kalkheim in 25 km to the south from Regensburg. This the big round building in the plan built for glorification of heroes of 1813. Besides, there is also well-known Weltenbergsky Abbey. The Benedictine monastery in Weltenberg near Kalkheim on Danube. The abbey is on the peninsula which presses in the river, so-called Weltenberg Narrows, or Danube Gorge.
The monastery, based by the Irish or Scottish monks about 620, is considered one of the oldest in Bavaria.
To the east from Regensburg the Bavarian Wood begins. National Park with the name of the same name, one of the most visited reserves in Germany. In total in Regensburg 20 museums. Among the most known, for example, the Historical Museum of Regensburg, on the Koplitz, which exposition tells about history, culture and art of Regensburg and East Bavaria since the Stone Age up to now. In the Old Town Hall the Museum of Imperial Parliament. Re-excuse. Devoted to life at the time of the Sacred Roman Empire is located. His main attractions, the original torture chamber and the Imperial Hall, rooms occupied by Imperial Parliament from 1663 to 1806. The Memorial House of Kepler-Gedächtnisses illustrates life of the famous astronomer and mathematician Johann Kepler-Gedächtnisses. The City Art Gallery Lehrer Butel offers collections of works of art, viewings of movies and cultural festivals. For the last year in the city there were several museums under the open sky, so-called documentary places. They are devoted to separate subjects, history of Romans, Jews or Bavaria. Besides, there are also Episcopal museums. And also the branch of Bavarian National Museum located in St. Emmeram's Abbey. There is a room with the princely jewelry belonging to a Sorternitaxis. Domskasuum, stores, treasures of church, a monstrantion and tapestries, all of them are exposed in St. Peter's Basilica. Among the other museums: the East German Gallery, the East Bavarian Natural History Museum, the Zoo with Reptiles, the Regensburg Museum of Navigation across Danube, Public Observatory, and also the Museum of Hours, the Museum of Golf, the Museum of Mail and Dinner Room Studio. To the forthcoming celebration of Century of Earth Bavaria, the Museum of the Bavarian History in Regensburg in May 2018 will be open. Besides, on all significant city monuments there take place excursions with the guide, and also there are organized tours across all city which are available in several languages. To the Regensburg Theater on Bismarckplatz, 200 of years, it is the most important theater of the city. Operas, operettas, musicals and the ballet are staged in them. In the summer also statements are carried out in the open air. Except theater directly on Bismarckplatz, there are 4 more scenes which programs supplement each other. In the new hall theater on Bismarckplatz, concerts of Philharmonic Orchestra of Regensburg are held. The Velodrome Theater is represented by musicals and performances. In theater on Heideplatz, mostly there are literary and modern plays, whereas in Tower Theater, on Goliathplatz, modern statements and also cabaret, musicals and performances for children. Regensburg is the house for the famous cathedral chorus. Since 2003, palace musical festivals in the courtyard of Abbey of St. Emmeram are held every July. The princely family of Ternitaxis acts as the sponsor and the organizer. Such famous musicians as Elton John, 2014, David Garrett, Tom Jones, Placido Domingo, Zaz, 2015, and others performed at this festival. Modern musical styles, especially jazz, it is presented every summer on Bavarian Jazz Weekend. On all Old City, more than 100 groups, collectives and solo performers. In 2015, the House of Music was open, having sheltered talented musicians and having been engaged in their education. The international season of short cinema is spent in Regensburg annually. This non-profitable action also takes place every March, being in fact one of the major similar events in all Germany. Besides, in the city there are several movie theaters, such as Cinemax, the biggest, showing blockbusters and movies in a genre and art house, and also small independent movie theaters, such as Garbo, Ostenter Kino, and Regina Film Theater. In Regensburg there are 2 movie theaters in the open air. Architecture. In the old city of Regensburg there are about 1500 houses which are of high art value since the Roman Empire till today and are protected by the state. The old city is completely surrounded with a green belt. Numerous parks within the city, as, for example, the City Park, Gerzigs Park, Dierenberg Park, Villa Park or a University Botanical Garden often attract citizens to rest from city bustle and good weather. Memorials and monuments. The city government erected several monuments immortalizing fight against racism, intolerance, minorities and other forms of contempt of human dignity. Memorial to the victims of the Holocaust. Memorial to the victims of euthanasia. Memorial to prisoners of concentration camps and to captives of war. Memorial to victims of violence over women.
In the city there are also so-called stones of an obstacle, which are mounted in a pavement in memory of the Jews deported and the killed during National Socialism.
Events. 2 times a year in the city there takes place the fair, a city national holiday. Volksfest, which is the 4th largest in Bavaria. Bürgerfest, celebration of citizens, passes in the old city of times in 2 years, attracting more than visitors. Every second weekend of July, knights and other medieval characters gather for Regensburg Spectaculum, the medieval market on Kameny Bridge. Every December on all city the numerous Christmas markets open. Nightlife. In the city more than 500 bars, restaurants, clubs and other entertaining institutions, all of them are located the most part in the old city. In the city rich in various nightlife mainly because of a large number of young inhabitants and students. The economy of Regensburg is considered one of the most dynamic and high growth in Germany. Emphasis is placed on industrial production, automotive engineering, industrial and electric design.
In the city representative offices of many international concerns, among which there is BMW, Continental E.
On General Electric, Infineon, Osram, Schneider Electric, Siemens, Telecom and Toshiba, and also offices of the so-called hidden champions are located. Krones, Mr. The BMW Automobile works in Regensburg, on which cars 3 series, 1 series and Z are made. In the city there is a headquarters of the company ATI, Eastern Bavaria Technology Transfer Institute E5. In the city 912,238 spending the night in hotels and 531,943 lodgers in 2012 were noted. Data on tourism industry practically doubled for the last 15 years. Regensburg became one of the most visited cities of the country with the population from 100 to 500,000 inhabitants. In 2014 Regensburg was included into the list of 30 most important sites of Germany for foreign tourists. City transport is presented by buses. Near 20 routes, which are served by the Rewever company. Intercity bus transport is presented by the Flixbus company and others. The listed companies connect the city to the coast of the Baltic Sea, Berlin, Dresden, the largest cities of Bavaria, and also to Hamburg and the northern Rhine-Westphalia. Through long-distance bus traffic is available to Poland, Romania, the Czech Republic, Austria, etc. Countries.
With change in Munich it is possible to reach practically to any city of Europe, including Moscow and London. Through the city there passes the large railway line.
Regional trains go from Regensburg to Munich, Nuremberg, Passau, Ulm and other cities of Bavaria. Intercity trains connect the city through traffic to Frankfurt and Düsseldorf. The international trains go to Vienna, Zeiss, and Prague. The train Munich-Prague of the Alex company. Regensburg, large port on Danube.
In the city there are east and western harbors and also numerous moorings for cruise river crafts which come into the city as a rule for one day.
There is no airport in Regensburg. In the city there are several helipads which are used in case of emergency. The nearest passenger airports are near Nuremberg and Munich. In Fresenich. All trains which go from Regensburg to Munich stop in Fresensch. There at the station square there is an opportunity to change on bus 635 of a route which reaches up to 1 and 2 terminals of the Munich airport in 20 minutes. The general time of a trip from Regensburg to the airport of Munich about 1.5 hours. Healthcare. In Regensburg, one of the most modern university hospitals in Europe, University Clinic is located. Besides, there are also other known hospitals, Krankenhaus Barmherzig-Bruder and St. Joseph Krankenhaus. In regional clinic, they undergo treatments patients with mental disorders. Regensburg is the fourth city in Germany by quantity of hospital beds on 1,000 people of the population. To the city this indicator is equal to 19.4. As for doctors, Regensburg on this indicator on the third place. 339 doctors on card inhabitants.
In the city so-called Biopark is located. It is the Bavaria's second largest biotechnological complex including numerous research institutes and the biotechnological companies.
Regensburg is known for the higher educational institutions. The largest of them, the Regensburg University. It is founded in 1962, it is one of the youngest German higher education institutions, enters the list of 400 best universities worldwide.
Among the famous people connected with the university it is worth calling the former Pope Benedict XVI, Udo Steiner and Wolfgang Wegert.
The campus of the university is located in one area with the Regensburg University of Applied Sciences. Since 1874 in the city the College of Catholic Music and also the Higher School of Catholic Church Music and Musical Pedagogics works. In the city the Institute of Research of Eastern and Southeast Europe of Leibniz is located. In Regensburg 18 elementary schools. There are also several schools giving senior secondary education, both state and private, representing all levels of the German school system. In the city of 8 gymnasiums, 5 of real schools, 6 special schools and 4 professional schools. In addition, there are also several national high schools with various specializations. Besides, there is the Regensburg International School, which offers families opportunities of the international training. Sevstan Regensburg, local football club which has very many fans. The team was a part of the big sports club founded in 1889 under the name of Turnerbahn Regensburg. The name was taken on behalf of Friedrich Ludwig Jahn, whose ideas and views of gymnastics strongly influenced development of the German sport in the 19th century. The Office of Soccer was founded in 1907.
Football players and swimmers left the main club in 1924 and based Sports Association Jahn of Regensburg. The local hockey club play now in the southern division of the highest league N.
It is the third German professional league. On der Neustauffer Straße in Regensburg the baseball stadium, Armenwolf-Baseball-Arena, is located. The local club of athletes, Augitelis Finanz Regensburg, holds various competitions and it is considered one of the most successful clubs in Germany. Famous natives. Marcus Aurelius is the Roman emperor. Founder of the city, Castra Regina. In honor of him the embankment along Danube is called Ptakia Regensburgsky, the famous Jewish traveler of the 12th century. Johann Kepler is the German mathematician, the astronomer, the mechanic, the optician and the astrologer, the pioneer of laws of the movement of planets of the solar system. I lived and died in the city. In honor of it, the street is called, the Memorial Museum is open. In the square at the central station, the scientist's bust is established. Oskar Schindler lived in the city from November 1945 to May 1950, at first in the Old City. On the house the commemorative plaque is established. Then to address Altenauenberger Strasse 25 on the bank of Danube. Turnitaxis, an aristocratic family of the Sacred Roman Empire which played an important role in formation and development of the European post service. The princely family still lives in the palace of the same name in the downtown. Benedict XVI is the former pope. I taught at Faculty of Theology of the Regensburg University. Edmund Stoiber is the German politician, the former Prime Minister of Bavaria. Graduate of the University of Regensburg. Von Avstrisky is the Spanish commander, the illegal son of Charles V. I was born in Regensburg. In the city the monument is established to it. Jerome II, the Archbishop Athenian, the head of Orthodox Church of Greece. Hellas Church. I studied in a postgraduate study at the University of Regensburg. Adam Weisgupt is the founder or Dean of Illuminates, Professor of the Natural and Canon Law at the University of the City of Ingolstadt. During the period between 1785 and 1787 I lived in the city on Engelbertgasse. Wolfgang Regensburgsky is a missionary and the Bishop of Regensburg, the Catholic saint. Saint Wolfgang. Erhard of Regensburg is the Bishop of Regensburg, the Reverend. Karl May is the German writer, the author of the well-known adventure novels for youth.
Its East cycle of stories was for the first time published in the weekly Catholic newspaper of Regensburg, the German Treasury, in 1880-1888.
Fuchs, George Matthias. German Georg Matthias Fuchs. On October 9, 1719, Regensburg. On April 5, 1797, Copenhagen. The Danish portrait painter and the historical artist of the German origin. In honor of Regensburg, the asteroid 927 of Ratisbon, opened in 1920, is called. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.